Thank you very much, Chairman. At first start, I want to thank IDSA for having me here, and it's my honor and privilege to be here and to share my views of this theme. So I'm going to talk about three parts. The first part is that it's a necessity and a requirement for nuclear weapon states to go deeper to further crush nuclear arsenal. And secondly, we have some obstacles. And finally, we need to move forward, find ways and means to move forward for deep crush. First, I think a large nuclear arsenal is roughly a relic of a Cold War, and people justify the building a nuclear arsenal because of the adversaries. But now the Cold War has long gone, and it's time to outlaw the nuclear weapons and to eliminate those nuclear arsenals. And with the economic globalization, the relation among countries deepening, especially economic interdependence. So the stakeholder for against or oppose nuclear weapons is increasing dramatically. And it's likely people will welcome any move to further reduce the danger of nuclear weapons. And nuclear deterrence for many countries of proliferation concern, nuclear threat of nuclear attack against them had been cited by them as justification for proliferation. So if we could reduce nuclear arsenal, that could help to reduce the proliferation. And even though the nuclear war among or between nuclear powers is decreasing dramatically, and the likelihood of nuclear terror is increasing as well, especially since the terrorist attack in September 11, 2001. So the nuclear terrorism, as we talked yesterday, had been major threat for all of the countries concerned. And if we can eliminate the nuclear weapons and especially nuclear fissile materials to reduce the amount of stockpile, that will help to reduce the possibility of nuclear terrorism as well. And other than that, it's also the nuclear weapons obligation to reduce the nuclear arsenal, as codified by the NPT Treaty, Article 6. And if no further movement by nuclear weapon states, it's hard to convince the non-nuclear weapon states to observe their own commitment. And it seems that the nuclear weapon states are willing to do something. For example, President Obama has delivered a speech a couple of years ago in Prague to calling for a world free of nuclear weapons. Though he indicated that he's not that optimistic, he said that he admitted that it's not going to be reduced quickly, perhaps not in his lifetime. He's about 50 years old, and so we can see that in the coming several decades, it's less likely we can eliminate all nuclear weapons. And the Gulf War, although the veteran of Cold War has called for a world free of nuclear weapons, and the campaign, such like the Global Zero, has been well received among many countries. And the United States and Russia has signed a new start, and to further reduce the nuclear arsenal and deliver system. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister also indicated that last May that multilateral nature for nuclear disarmament would becoming more and more pressing issue. And the UK and France has taken some unilateral measures to reduce the nuclear arsenal. And China, in President Hu Jintao's speech in 2010, he indicated that when conditions are ripe, other nuclear weapon states should also join the multilateral negotiation on nuclear disarmament. So it seems to me that nuclear weapon states are willing to talk about the deep parts. But we can see there still exist many hurdles in deep part. For example, CPTS did not enter into force after it was concluded 8 years ago, and the negotiation on FMCT make no progress in the last decade. And the role of nuclear weapons is not narrowed down to sole purpose yet. And missile defense remain a key obstacle for any future reduction in nuclear reduction. And CPTS is a topic pretty new, and is becoming a new element which may have negative impact on further nuclear reduction. And other than that, we may look back to the past, and we may notice that each substantial reduction may take longer than 1 decade, or about 1 decade after the previous one was finished. And the next meaningful reduction might likely take place after 2010 or around after 2020 or around 2020. And so we need to move forward towards that goal. And if we go to multilateral, and the issue of the other tier, the India, Pakistan, and Israel, how to address those de facto nuclear weapon states, how to get them on board. These are the obstacles for the nuclear reduction. But even though we face some hurdles, but it's still worthwhile to explore ways and means to move to multilateral disarmament. I think in the past, our countries have paid too much attention to non-proliferation, but now it's time to pay at least the same attention or equal emphasis on nuclear non-proliferation and disarmament. And we all know, yesterday we talked about the several layers of players in nuclear deep parts. I would like to categorize into 3 groups. The first group is the countries with a huge nuclear arsenal, like US and Russia. And the second group is those small nuclear powers, like UK, France, and China. And the third group is de facto nuclear powers, not NPT defined nuclear weapon states, but they did test and have nuclear arsenal. India, Pakistan, and Israel. We are North Korea. I do not know how to categorize North Korea as a nuclear weapons, de facto nuclear weapon state or not. That's why I did not list North Korea. And I think for these 3 groups of countries, each group could do what they can do to promote the goal of world free of nuclear weapons. For de facto nuclear weapon states, they could maintain the current level of the nuclear arsenal without horizontal or vertical proliferation, and observe those international treaties and regimes. And for small nuclear powers, they could keep excise restraints in nuclear modernization and maintain that small nuclear arsenal, while US and Russia reduce the arsenal, the huge nuclear arsenal, by unilaterally or bilaterally by negotiating a treaty. And the major job should be done by US and Russia to further reduce the nuclear arsenal. They need to make those reductions irreversible. Not only cover those operational deployed nuclear weapons, but also those nuclear weapons in storage. And they need to reduce the total number of nuclear warheads to a much lower level, maybe much lower than the number defined by the New START. And since the U.S. have a serious concern of Russia's non-strategic or tactical nuclear weapons, and the United States in comparative have some advantage in long-range missiles. So the United States and Russia may talk about the possibility to reduce in a symmetrical way, that for U.S. to further reduce the strategical nuclear arsenal, and for the Russian to deal with non-strategical nuclear weapons. And what's important for both countries is that they need to transform the nuclear posture from mutual assured destruction to mutual assured vulnerability, so that they can, move forward to go deep cuts. And the U.S. and Russia could address the obstacles hindering the deep cuts especially missile defense and CPTS. And they can make, since the U.S. have said many times that missile defense is only for a few incoming missiles from those rogue states, then the United States need to prove and convince the US, Russia and other countries that its capability is limited for few coming missiles, rather than to negate the other countries' retaliate capability. And the U.S. and Russia could do a joint research on possible missile threat. I think that kind of research has been done on a non-official level, but they can do that on an official level. And they can also, the United States and Russia could have some technical briefing that is as a measure for confidence building. And the United States and Russia have talked about that in the past, and it's possible for both countries to cooperate in missile defense and to share some early warning data and to talk about the possible technical cooperation. And they can also talk on the potential impact of CPTS. The impact of CPTS on the strategic relation. And they need to transform the extended nuclear deterrence to a conventional one, and to narrow down the role of nuclear weapons. That's for all nuclear weapon states, not only Russia and the United States. They need to provide a clean negative assurance to non-nuclear weapon states. Then they could negotiate agreement on de-targeting and also agreement on de-alerting, and to limit the role of nuclear weapons to its sole purpose, and finally to negotiate an agreement on no first use of nuclear weapons among nuclear powers, and increase. Then all nuclear weapon states could increase the nuclear transparency and to reduce the budget for nuclear facility and program. And if possible, they need to negotiate a treaty to ban all nuclear weapons and finish the negotiation of FMCT and to enforce CPTS. Then all nuclear powers, whether small powers or de facto nuclear powers, come on board to join the reduction process. Here I conclude my remarks. Thank you very much.